You are watching No Filter with Debbie. These are my views and opinions. Welcome to No Filter with Debbie. I'm Debbie Schlussel, and you know what's driving me crazy? Elise Stefanik and her election today. Yes, Liz Cheney was ousted, and Elise Stefanik was voted in to the third highest ranking position among House Republicans. So she is now chairman or chairwoman or chair, whatever they're calling it these days. I can't keep up with all this woke nomenclature, but she is now the chairman of the House Republican Conference, and Liz Cheney is out. Now, I don't agree with Liz Cheney on a lot of things. Like, I don't agree with her on voting to impeach President Trump. That was a horrible move, and she should have been removed for that reason and that reason alone. And a lot of people are saying, oh, politics shouldn't be, the Republican Party shouldn't be about Trump. I do agree with that. I think the Republican Party should be about principles, not personalities. But I do think that whether or not you like Donald Trump, he stuck to a lot of our principles more than any other Republican president I can remember in contemporary times. So you may not like his personality, but his principles were there. And speaking of principles, they're not there with Elise Stefanik. So Liz Cheney was ousted this morning. She gave a defiant speech saying that she would defeat Donald Trump, that he is not going to be the nominee in 2024. She would work to prevent that, and so on. She knew this was coming. She should have been removed. Donald Trump should never have been impeached the first time or the second time, which she voted for. That is absurd. It's outrageous. And she would not have voted for it for any Democrat. She just wouldn't have. And it would never have gotten to that point. It hasn't gotten to that point. Remember, Bill Clinton is the only Democrat that's been impeached in modern times. And he skated away. His approval ratings went way up after that. Very few people voted to remove him from office. In fact, not even all the Republicans voted to remove him from office. So that she voted to remove Trump is an outrage. She should have been gone. But Elise Stefanik shows to me that even Trump is not really about his own principles. He is not really about America first, because otherwise, why would he endorse Elise Stefanik, who is about none of those things? Elise Stefanik, we have told you about her on recent previous shows. She supported the Paris Climate Accords, and she voted against Donald Trump removing America from it. He was absolutely right to do that. The Paris Climate Accords, as we have told you on this show, is the subsidized China and put America out of business accords. That's what it is. Why should we sacrifice our country, our jobs, our businesses, our industries like oil, gas, and coal? Why should we do that to help China, which is the biggest emitter and emits more carbon and uses more energy than all of the Western industrialized democracies combined? Why would we subsidize that? They are not a signatory. She supports that. As we showed you, we had tweets from Numbers USA and the Senate Center for Immigration Studies, Mark Krikorian. We showed you that Elise Stefanik was terrible on secure borders. She wanted America's borders not to just be a sieve. She just wanted it to be a canyon, a wide open door. That's what she wanted. She wanted more agricultural workers. She wanted more H-1B visa workers, which is computer programmers. We don't have enough unemployed programmers in America. Disney hasn't replaced enough programmers and lowered their wages to give it to foreigners. We don't have enough of that. We need more of that problem. No, and especially now when we're trying to recover from this artificially inhibited economy because of COVID and the COVID hysteria. No, but Elise Stefanik wants that. She supports that. She is to the left of most Republicans. She only supported President Trump in the 70s, in the 70 percentile, and 70 something percent. Whereas Liz Cheney, despite her hatred for Trump and her very bad, very unforgivable vote for the impeachment, voted with Trump something like 93% of the time. We showed you that. Now, I want you to take a look more at what Elise Stefanik supports. Take a look at this video. This is produced by a horrible organization that worked against Trump. The Lincoln Project. I hate the Lincoln Project. It has nothing to do with Abraham Lincoln. He's turning over in his grave over these former establishment Republicans who are actually liberals who worked to elect Joe Biden. And now we're in a crisis of many kinds. An energy crisis on the East Coast. We're in a foreign policy crisis. We are making nice with our enemy Iran and attacking our friend Israel and other friends around the world. We're sucking up to our enemies like China. Other than Iran, China. Really? Why would we suck up to them? I'll tell you why. Because Hunter Biden and the big guy, Joe Biden, made billions off of the Chi-Com banks. They may still be. We don't know. We don't have access to their finances, unfortunately. You think somebody's going to investigate the finances of the President of the United States when he has a D after his name? They did it to Trump. They ain't going to do it to Joe Biden or his son, Hunter, his loser son, Hunter, who pimped America. I want you to take a look at this video. So this video is from the Lincoln Project. I'm showing it to you not to endorse the Lincoln Project. I hate them. They're bad. But they showed what Elise Stefanik's positions were. Probably still are. You should never trust a chameleon shapeshifter. Watch.
I'm committed to being a uniter and a bridge builder.
I bring, I hope, a sunny side of optimism to Congress and a willingness to work with people.
On the Muslim ban, she stated at the time, this is not who we are as a country.
I ran for Congress to bring new ideas, fresh energy, and a new generation of leadership to Washington.
On the border wall, she stated, I don't think that's realistic.
I'm proud of the positive, issues-oriented race we have run from day one.
And when Trump was caught on that Access Hollywood tape, she stated at the time, Donald Trump's inappropriate, offensive comments are just wrong. So that was then. This is now.
I am honored to support President Trump.
There was no constitutional basis for impeachment.
She has sold her soul. I can't work with people that are that just craven and soulless.
I plan to object to certain contested electors on January 6th.
Look at Elise Stefanik, someone who started out as a reasonable person. Now she's on Steve Bannon's show.
I fully support the audit in Arizona.
Was she full of crap then, or is she full of crap now? Either way, crap is crap. And it is the best reflection of where the GOP is right now, is they are about to knock out a principled woman for crap. Donald Trump brought the gold toilet into the RNC, and everyone thinks it's a pool, and they're just diving in.
All right, now, I don't agree with those last few statements. But what I do agree with is Elise Stefanik cannot be trusted, because if somebody's going to be a chameleon, they're going to shapeshift one way to please you, after they shapeshifted the other way to please the opposite crowd. You can never trust them. You never know on which side they're on, and you will never know when they will screw you and by how much. She's going to do that. Why would they pick her? Is there a shortage of real conservative Republican women in Congress? Heck no, there are a lot of them. We just elected quite a few. I know you can't take somebody that just got in this term. Take somebody who has one term under their belt. This is not a job that really takes a rocket scientist. Remember, it involves members of Congress. They're not geniuses, or they wouldn't be members of Congress. They'd be doing something else more worthwhile, more lucrative, and more honest. They wouldn't be the used car salesman of public life, which she is. And she's shown it. She will say whatever people want to hear if she gets the reins of power. And in order to get it, she will try and read your mind like one of these phony psychic con artists and say what she thinks you want to hear from her. Terrible. Why did Trump pick her? Because she was nice to him and stuck up for him during the impeachment hearings 1 and 2. So that's why he picked her. She stuck up for him at least during the first one. The second one, you didn't really hear much from her, but the first one. But he doesn't care about any of her positions, or he never would have picked her. All right, when we come back, we'll show you a little bit more about, you know what, in fact, before we go to the break, just take a look at this tweet from Ryan James Gerdusky. Take a look. All right, so this is somebody that I look at on Twitter from time to time. He makes a lot of good points. He's a very smart guy. He said there's no one less qualified to be a spokesperson for the GOP than Elise Stefanik. Pro-amnesty, she is. We saw that on the video. Pro-globalism, anti-border wall, anti-Trump's tariffs. Say no. But unfortunately, they said yes. All right. When we come back, President Trump said something very controversial about the U.S. Secret Service, but it shouldn't be controversial. I think it's hilarious, and he's right. We'll tell you what he said after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha.
The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness.
During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark.
Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close.
Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars for just $39.99. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight. Just pay a separate fee.
We'll even ship them to you free.
This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Today's households have more digital devices than ever before. More links to family, business, education, and entertainment. Beck Communications spent over 10 years building North Dakota's fastest fiber optic internet service. Beck Lightband Internet, outpacing speeds in large cities nationwide. Lightband Internet handles all your digital needs without throttling your connection to the world. Beck Communications, valuable digital connections in rural North Dakota.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467. Attention, have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Elmiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Elmiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Elmiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms.
This drug remains approved by the FDA.
If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So, Donald Trump is back in the news, not just for getting Elise Stefanik elected, and not just for making his statements every day. His website, unfortunately, is not doing so well. Not that many people are going there since he's been silenced on big tech. But now there's a new book coming out, and the book is designed to make him look bad and make the other presidents in modern history look good, as well as their wives. And it's about the U.S. Secret Service. So we all know that the United States Secret Service is not a private organization, unfortunately. They are, and I believe in privatization. That's why I said that. They're a government agency. And you know what happens when you have a government agency? Let's say somebody's protecting the president gets shot. Do you think any of the Secret Service agents get fired for that? No. They just move on to their next protectee. This is what happens. And I worked for a congressman. He passed away now years ago, the late Philip Crane. He ran against Ronald Reagan, to the right of Ronald Reagan, in fact. And he was the chairman of the House Republican Study Committee. He founded it. That's a very conservative caucus in Congress. He was a really good guy. I learned a lot from him. And he always used to say to me, you know, when I ran for president, the Secret Service, they worked for the government. So they don't have to have merit. Once they're in the Secret Service, it's really hard to get fired. And if, God forbid, I get shot, God forbid even more that I get killed, nothing's going to happen to them. They'll maybe be off of work with pay for a few weeks. There'll be an investigation. They'll be back. And let's say they're found to be at fault. They'll get a desk job or something. They are not going to be fired. It is very hard to fire anybody from the Secret Service. And in this context, Donald Trump is being made to look bad about comments he made about the Secret Service. And I'll get to those in a second. So there's a new book called Zero Fail, The Rise and Fall of the Secret Service. It's by a Washington Post reporter by the name of Carol Leonig, or I don't know how you pronounce it, but she's a Pulitzer Prize winner. She had written about the security failures of the Secret Service, and that's why she got her Pulitzer Prize. This was in 2015 while Barack Obama was still president. People got into the White House, homeless people, people who had mental issues, and the Secret Service failed. And she wrote about it. So she's written a whole book. And she is very critical, of course, this is so predictable for the mainstream media, but of the Trump family. And I want you to take a look at this quote from the book because she thinks it makes Trump look bad. That's why she included it. But I actually think President Trump is right. Take a look. So President Donald Trump was consumed with getting overweight Secret Service agents removed from their posts, saying he wanted these fat guys off my detail and asking, how are they going to protect me and my family if they can't run down the street? So what's wrong with that? Oh, he's against fat people, and look at him, he's overweight, right? Isn't that the response? But he's absolutely right. This is a paramilitary organization. They are protecting, or supposed to be protecting, the leader of the free world and his or her family, and the person that is a heartbeat away from the presidency, the vice president, and his or her family. So take a look at this picture and tell me, is this a fat Secret Service agent? I found this picture. It was actually the only one I could find when I Googled fat Secret Service agent. So look at this guy. He's got a bit of a gut. I don't know if that's just his shirt blowing in the wind. I don't think it is. He's got a bit of a gut. His neck, you can see he's a little overweight there. He's running, though, with Barack Obama, and he doesn't look to be behind. In fact, he's kind of ahead of him. So maybe a fat guy can keep up, but it's iffy. You want people in the best shape. I mean, remember, we used to have standards for every law enforcement agency. And remember, the Secret Service is a law enforcement agency. They don't just engage in the protection of dignitaries and presidents and vice presidents and their families. They also do something else. Remember, the Secret Service is engaged in investigating counterfeit money, counterfeiting. They're involved in investigating credit card fraud. They are involved in a lot of things. And in fact, most of them are not involved in being on protective details. I know a lot of people in the Secret Service, or I used to, and I can tell you they're involved in a lot of other things. It's a very large agency. They even have uniformed cops that are stationed around the White House. They've got a lot of functions. Most of those functions involved in law enforcement, you don't want a person that looks like they got a lot of free donuts. You want somebody that's fit and is in shape. But especially if they're protecting the President of the United States, They should be fit. They should be able to run around with the first family. So Donald Trump is absolutely right. I think we may have shown you on this show, and if we didn't, I'll just mention it. But at the very beginning of the Biden presidency, they showed Kamala Harris jogging, and I think this was total publicity stuff. She was so thirsty for attention. She's an attention whore. She's a media whore. She was jogging up and down the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And they showed the Secret Service catching up with her and basically keeping up with her. And she's actually, as much as I don't like her, and I think she's a Marxist who is out to destroy America, and she has ambition that knows no bounds and no principles, she is in really good shape. And she was jogging, running up and down those steps with aplomb. And those agents have to keep up. So Trump is exactly right. He doesn't want fat agents for that reason. And optics are everything when you're the leader of the free world. When you're the president of the United States and you've got fat, out of shape people surrounding you who are supposed to protect you, that sends the wrong message to our enemies, to terrorists, and so on, that it's easy pickings. We don't want to send that message. So what was wrong with what that quote was that we read you that Donald Trump said? Nothing was wrong with it. They just want him to look bad. And it's just a fact that they were not keeping up, because we told you when the Obamas were in the White House, homeless people got in, people with mental illness and so on. How would they get over the fence and into the White House without anyone catching them and stopping them? That is a major, major failing on the part of the Secret Service, which used to be the elite agency in law enforcement. A lot of people wanted to be in that agency, even beyond the FBI. The FBI has all the PR, but the Secret Service has a mystique surrounding it. What you may not know is a lot of people have gotten into the Secret Service who've been accused, some even convicted of attempted murder, rape, and so on. This all came out actually not long after 9/11, when Senator Charles Grassley was investigating this, the Republican senator from Iowa, because there were so many people with criminal records you would think would never be able to get into this agency, this elite agency. Some of them are subject to blackmail. They are people who are likely to commit crimes again. So they're easy pickings for terrorists who want to extort or blackmail them, and they're protecting the president. They could be easily compromised. I mean, there have been movies about this that have been made. I think Olympus Has Fallen and some other ones. There was actually I think something happened on 24 like that. And it's not just in showbiz. This can happen in real life, and we have to pay attention. Listen, what happens in fiction can always happen in reality. As they always say, truth is stranger than fiction. So there's that. Now, a lot is still going on in Israel. They are being attacked still by Hamas. They're not being attacked just with a few rockets. You may have seen reports, 400 rockets, 700 rockets. No. It's 1,000 rockets per one rocket Israel is sending back to Hamas. And let me tell you the difference also. So they are sending rockets at random throughout Israel, trying to kill as many innocent civilians as possible. And the Israelis are warning the Palestinians. They're telling them exactly which buildings will be hit. They're giving them several hours warning, telling them to get out. This is not retaliation. This is not disproportionate response. You know, you always hear from the Biden administration. You're hearing it now, and you hear it from all the liberals. Disproportionate response. It's not disproportionate at all. Listen, is it Israel's fault that they are able to pick off a lot of these missiles because they've developed the technology? No, but they are losing citizens. At least 5 people have already been killed, and that's 5 too many. So we will get back to this more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck, but we will show you some video. I actually got into it with a former recent Democratic national candidate for president. Yes, a person that ran against Joe Biden attacked me on Twitter, and the things that this person said are ridiculous. We will show you what they are after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not one, not two, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
Hey Bucks fans, if you're planning an outing, birthday, or employee appreciation night, then bring your group out to the Buck Stop for a night of fast-paced, high-scoring football. Your group will receive discounted tickets, options for reserved seating, scoreboard messages, VIP services, swag, and a space to gather during the game. You can also participate in pre-game ceremonies, halftime entertainment, in-game contests, and more. Call 701-595-0771 or visit bismarckbucks.com/tickets. All GA is first come, first serve. We'll see you on the turf. Go Bucks.
Hey everybody, I'm Doug Billings, your host of The Right Side with Doug Billings on Beck News. We bring you high-profile guests, ladies and gentlemen, exclusive guests. Now, you're not going to see these guests in most of the mainstream media outlets. Another thing that I do here is give guests a platform to speak freely. You're not going to see me censor anybody. Please join us, won't you? Weeknights right here on Beck TV and online at beck.news. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So we are talking about what's going on in Israel and why you should care here in America. Did you know, for example, that you are funding these Hamas rockets? Yes, you are. And Joe Biden enabled all of this, and we'll tell you about that in a second. But let me just repeat how this happened, because I mentioned this yesterday, but for people who didn't see it, I think it bears repeating. You really need a tutorial. So Hamas, the Islamic terrorist group, is funded by Iran. It also used to be funded, and probably still is, by Qatar and some of the Gulf states that have yet to make peace with Israel. We know that Trump did 4 peace deals. Those countries, you can bet, are not funding this. Or if they are, they're doing it very sub rosa. And Israel's got great intelligence. They would know if that was going on. So they fund Hamas. Hamas did not attack Israel like this in the 4 years that President Trump was president. This hasn't happened under any other contemporary president. And as we showed you yesterday, there was a statement from Trump saying that they knew that we had Israel's back and that's why Israel had peace. And that's exactly right. But they also knew that Trump was not going to deal with Iran. Remember, Trump canceled the Iran our deal where we gave them pallets of cash. That he couldn't cancel. They already got it. But we actually did not loosen the sanctions that had been loosened by Obama. We didn't loosen them further. we tighten them back up. And he canceled the deal. Now Joe Biden has announced he's going to get back into the deal. So Hamas attacks Israel whenever it wants to, whenever it thinks that Israel is not going to have the world's support, and whenever it thinks Israel is weak. And right now they have something going on where they do not have a decisive prime minister yet, because Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the current prime minister and has been for a while, and he's the longest serving Israeli prime minister, he cannot come up with a government. The way it works in Israel is they have to get a coalition of more than 60 members of the Knesset, which is their parliament. It has 120 members, and they have to come up with a coalition of 61 to rule the place. And he can't come up with one. This has now been the 5th election where he cannot do that, where the results have been very close and he hasn't been able to do it. The other sides haven't been able to do it either, but it's believed that this time that may happen. So with that as the backdrop, there is a neighborhood in Jerusalem, in the Old City, which is the eternal capital of the Jewish people. This has always been Jewish. The holiest site in Judaism is there. The Beit HaMikdash, the Kotel, the temple of the Jews, the Jewish temple, is there in Jerusalem, in the Old City. This was built by King David. And then King Solomon, there were 2 temples. Remember, they were both destroyed. So the fact is that this has always been Jewish land. Palestinians came in, they came out. Some of them lived there renting property that was owned by Jews. And that is where we go to the pretext that was used for these latest attacks. So there is this neighborhood called Sheikh Jarrah. It's named after a sheikh, which is a term given for Islamic nobility. Often it's Islamic religious leaders, but it can be wealthy people, it can be officials or royalty of Islamic nations. It's named after Sheikh Jarrah. And a lot of Palestinians lived there in rented property that was owned by Jews. They stopped paying their rent. They were evicted. So they were evicted, and this is why there were riots. And we showed you, I believe yesterday, the riots on the Temple Mount, where the holiest site in Judaism is, the Holy of Holies, where the high priest used to operate out of. And they are yelling, "Bomb Tel Aviv." Why? Because these people were evicted. Now, you or I, we could be a landlord almost anywhere in the world, and certainly anywhere in the Western world. And if somebody doesn't pay the rent, guess what? We go through the eviction process and we kick them out. And we're allowed to own property, we hope, in most of the world. But these people don't believe Jews should be able to own property there. They don't believe in civil rights. They think, like the Nazis, that Jews shouldn't be able to own property in certain areas, and also that they shouldn't be able to evict Palestinians who don't pay rent or who they want to remove from the property. They want to do something else with it. This is the context with which all of this has happened, these attacks on Israel. Now, did they need this to be the reason they attacked Israel? Absolutely not. This is a pretext. That means a phony basis for something you were going to do anyway, or a phony basis for something you're doing as a reason. This is not the reason. It's not legitimate. And we are at the break, so we will go into this more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Back.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled My Pillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or My Pillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms.
This drug remains approved by the FDA.
If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie. So before the break, I was giving you more of the context of what is going on in Israel, the alleged context, because let's be honest, people rent properties or they're occupying properties all over the world. And the people that own the properties sometimes want them out. Either they're not paying rent or the lease is over and the landlord wants to do something else with the property and they need them out. This happens all the time. We don't say, well, you can't own this property because you're a Jew, you're black, you're Asian, you're white. We can't do that, and we don't do that, not in today's day and age. But apparently you can still do that with Jews in Muslim countries where Jews can't own property and they can't do these things often, and in the recent Nazi era where they had these laws, the Nuremberg laws, where they did not let people who were not pure Aryans or who had any Jewish blood own property, be landlords, and so on. This is how things progress to genocide. And this is what the Palestinians believe. They endorse the same Nazi genocide laws, the same discriminatory laws. We call this redlining, when you won't let somebody rent property in a certain area or you won't let them buy property in a certain area. It's called redlining. It's racist. It's bigoted. But apparently it's allowed if the people who want to rent or own the property are Jewish. And Muslims don't like that. This is outrageous, and this is in Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the Jewish people. We know it's a Jewish city and has been historically. We've got the temple. We have the Western Wall. It's known as the Kotel that is remaining from the temple. And they have archaeologists digging around there, and they find lots of vessels that bear Hebrew letters and Hebrew words and so on. We know that a lot of this is stuff that traces back to the time of King David, King Solomon, before those two. So the claim that this is Palestinian land is just a fraud. It's a fiction. It is a fairy tale that rivals the Brothers Grimm. And unfortunately, the mainstream media loves fairy tales when the narrative is right and the right victims are who they portray as the victims, and the wrong people, the Jews, the evil Jews, are the alleged perpetrators. But that's not what's going on here. What is going on here is the Jews want to live in peace in their country, Israel, that has historically been Jewish for thousands of years. There was never a Palestinian people then. And even in the 1800s and the early 1900s, when there was so called Palestine, the Palestinians had Jewish Hebrew names like Shlomo and Yitzchak. All right, this was not Muslim land. It was not the Palestinians that you're being told are the Palestinians today. They're nomads from other areas in Arabia. They didn't even exist, many of them, at that time. And of course, not them, but I mean their peoples did not exist at that time. They migrated from other areas. So in this context, you've got Hamas in Gaza. Gaza was given to them by the Israelis. Remember, well, you probably don't remember this, but in the early 2000s, Ariel Sharon was the prime minister of Israel, and he ushered out the Israeli people that lived in Gaza. Gaza also had been Jewish for thousands of years. And guess what? It was never Palestinian. It was Egyptian at one time. And Israel got it from Egypt when Egypt went to war against Israel. And so Israel made all of its citizens that lived in Gaza leave. And they gave all the homes and the greenhouses and everything, the luxury resorts on the beach. That's a very valuable area. They gave it to the Palestinians who elected Hamas. And if they ever have another election, which is scheduled to come soon, they will elect them again in droves, this Islamic terrorist group. So that's where we come to what's happening now. So there are missiles being sent into Israel and have been for the last several days and nights, killing Israelis, innocent Israelis. And like I told you before the break, the Israelis are warning the Palestinians, and they're telling them where and when they're going to send missiles. So very few people are dying. And their figures are suspect because they always make up figures. They use dead bodies from a while ago. They've always been found to do that by none other than the United Nations, which doesn't like Israel. And even the United Nations has found they lie about these statistics. They use old dead bodies of kids and of adults. It's a fraud. They use people from hospitals that died of a heart attack unrelated, or died of a stroke unrelated, or heart disease or something, and they pretend that the Israelis killed them. It's a fraud. You just cannot believe anything they're saying. And what does Joe Biden have to do with it? Well, I'll show you. So we had on our show a few months ago Adam Credo, who is a star reporter, senior reporter of the Washington Free Beacon. And he just wrote a story where the leader of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad says Joe Biden is funding this. So I want you to take a look at this tweet. So this is from Adam Credo. New Palestinian terror leader says Iran funded and armed his group for war on Israel. Iran behind ongoing terror attacks on Israel. So this is the leader of the Islamic Jihad, which is tied with Hamas. At one time, they were merged, and they may merge again. There have been long talks of those two groups merging. The Islamic Jihad has murdered Americans, and in fact, that the worldwide founder of Islamic Jihad was a professor at the University of South Florida, and he was educating our generals at Central Command in South Florida. It's very scary, and that's why a lot of them are very anti-Israel. They're trained by Islamic terrorists, Palestinian ones. So, and the professor I was talking about, by the way, was Sami Al-Arian, and he was operating Islamic Jihad from South Florida, from the University of South Florida, of Central Florida, South Florida. At the same time, he was training and educating, actually propagandizing our top generals. So you saw that there. Joe Biden is entering back into the Iran deal. He has loosened the sanctions that Donald Trump toughened up. They are getting all this money, and they are funding Islamic Jihad and Hamas to attack Israel with these missiles. And this is what's happening. We are funding this. The American taxpayers are funding this. Why are we funding this? Ask Joe Biden. he has loosened the sanctions on Iran. He's let more cash flow Iran's way, cash that should stay in U.S. coffers, and this is what they're funding. And as I told you yesterday, Israel has this system called Iron Dome that Israel developed, and they've actually shared the technology with us. We have used it. We used it in the first Gulf War. It's actually very sophisticated and successful, and it shoots down a lot of these missiles, but it's not perfect. Doesn't get all of them, and some Israelis have been killed. Many others have been injured. Some of them are children. Some of them are women. You don't hear the media whining and crying about it because they're Jews and they don't care. They only care when Jews are killed, when Jews kill Palestinians in response to when they're trying to protect themselves after they've given warning where the buildings are that they're going to bomb and when they're going to bomb them. So before we go to the break, I just want you to take a look at this video of the missiles and the Iron Dome shooting them down. Check it out. Imagine that going on last night. That was last night in Israel. Imagine that going on all over the country in America. Would we sit there and take it? No, we would respond, and we would respond heavily and strongly. At least I hope we would. But Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are running the country. So I don't know. I can't say for certain. But I'll tell you this, if Donald Trump were president or anybody else except Obama, that would be war, and we would go to war against the people who warred with us. But when Israel responds, it's disproportionate, and they get condemned by Joe Biden. All right, when we come back, we'll show you what an uninformed left-wing movie star has to say, and that Democrat presidential candidate who had a tete-a-tete with me over this, that and more, after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree Dental Card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree Dental Card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree Dental Card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree Dental Card, you save $525. The Carefree Dental Card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree Dental Card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
At Beck Communications, we've been planning for your future. Over the past decade, we've placed nearly 200,000 miles of dedicated fiber optics in the ground. Enough fiber optic strands to circle the world 8 times. Taking no shortcuts, we connected every home and business in our service area with dedicated fiber optics. It's your personal, unrestricted, unthrottled connection to the world. Best of all, this dedicated fiber means you do not share your connection. We call this intimate dedicated connection Beck Fiber.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until nano. Call now and you'll get your nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
Hop in the rig and go down the road with me. We'll cover local and national stories that impact you.
What happens with national debt? Does anybody even care anymore?
Do you think Governor Burgum truly understands the legislative process?
You know, I think he's got a better understanding now than he did 2 years ago.
Why in the world are we having a conversation about being anti-vaccination? Down the Road with Joel Heitkamp weekdays at 5:30 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Attention! Have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Almiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Almiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie. So, if you take your advice or if you believe anything about politics or the news from a celebrity, you're a moron. They're kind of an IQ test, and if you believe them, you failed. And that's the case with Mark Ruffalo, who plays the Incredible Hulk in a lot of the Marvel movies, the Avengers, and so on. And he's a very well-known left-wing activist. He's come to Detroit when they wanted to shut off people's water for non-payment of bills. He's just an agitator. He's a fraud because he's very wealthy. He's a capitalist for himself, but not for everybody else. Not for the little guy who's a landlord or so on. He lives in a very fancy mansion. He also supposedly has a ranch somewhere out west. He's loaded. He's made millions, and he does not give a lot of that away. And that's for a reason, because he's a fake. He's not really the woke left-wing person he pretends to be. It's a brand for him. This is virtue signaling, and it's branding. It's like all the corporations that I told you about, who also are fake woke. They're faux woke. So he tweeted about this and waded into the discussion because he doesn't know anything. But anyway, take a look at his tweet, which was sent out by the Quds Network. So this was, I guess we don't have the larger tweet from the Quds Network, but the Quds Network is Hamas, and it's the Palestinians. And they sent out this tweet that Mark Ruffalo sent out, and he said 1,500 Palestinians face expulsion in Jerusalem. That's that Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood that I told you about. It's not 1,500, by the way. 200 protesters have been injured. You know what? They were shot with rubber bullets, and they were attacking people. They were throwing rocks at police. You get hit by a rock, goodbye, and so on. They're not protesters. They're rioters, violent, just like the ones here in America that we've seen all year. 9 children have been killed. You know what? I'll believe it when I see it. Sanctions on South Africa help free its black people. It's time for sanctions on Israel to free Palestinians. Join the call. Well, listen. And then he says Sheikh Jarrah, which is that neighborhood I told you about. Mark Ruffalo owns several properties. I told you. So he's got one of these Hollywood mansions. He's got a ranch and so on. I think we ought to drop some Palestinians in there. And then when he says, I don't want these strangers in my property. I want them out. They're not paying rent. I don't want them here. And then he tries to evict them. I guess we'll tell him we need sanctions and he needs to leave his home because he's not allowed to own it because we don't want people who played the Incredible Hulk and who are movie stars to own property. Not the same thing as saying we don't want Jews to own property, but I'm trying to give you an example. This guy is a hypocrite. He does not want total strangers on his property. He does not want people telling him he can't kick them out if they come for a visit and they don't leave and they're usurping his domain. He does not want us to stop him from taking action like anybody would around the world. But he wants Jewish landlords who own property in the old city of Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the Jewish people for thousands of years. He does not want them to exercise their rights because they're Jewish and they're not allowed. Again, this is what the Nazis said. So that's him. Now, remember Mary Ann Williamson? Remember her? We have a picture with Oprah so that you can remember. So that's her, and I think there she is. She's the one that ran for president against all the other idiots that ran against fellow idiot Joe Biden. So Mary Ann Williamson, she was born Jewish. She pretends she's a Christian minister. She does not believe in God. She pretends she does, but she said other things which are New Age gobbledygook. and she's an idiot. All right, so she started blaming Israel, and she tweeted this. Take a look. Both sides are firing rockets at innocent civilians. The point is, who started this? Israel did with the evictions in East Jerusalem. So she buys in to the Nazi laws that Jews can't evict people. They can't own property in East Jerusalem. So I responded, and here's my response. I get it. So if we dump some squatters in Marianne Williamson's house, then she can evict them. She can't evict them. She deserves rockets and must leave because, hey, and then I put that part about a fake Jew in name only who pretends to be a godless Christian. She is godless. She does not believe in God, and she started it. Thanks for the tip. She's a hypocrite. All right, so then she tweeted in response to me. So if you don't agree with Israel all the time, which is not what I said. I don't agree with everything Israel does. Now then you're a fake Jew. What a ridiculously non-Jewish type of perspective. And so I responded, and here's my tweet in response. So if you're a Jew and you own property anywhere in Israel, you're not allowed to live there. And therefore, you can't evict tenants and must get deadly rockets showered on you. What a ridiculously Nazi type of perspective, Marianne Williamson. I also invited her to come on the show, but predictably, of course, she would not come on. And my friend Jack Lee tweeted in response. Take a look at what he had to say. So when you don't pay rent, you get evicted, even in Narnia and Atlantis, which of course are fiction. That's hilarious. All right, now, before we end the show, I want you to take a look at this video about a robber who you may think is white, but take a look.
A prolific burglary suspect threw police for a loop until they discovered he was wearing a mask, and that wasn't the only surprise. Security images show the suspect wearing glasses and having tousled auburn hair. The suspect in the photo appears to be white. Police have now released the suspect's mugshot, and it turns out he's actually black. On Sunday, Beverly Hills police stopped a car they believe was connected to the burglaries. Inside, they found the mask and 30-year-old Rokeem Prowl. He's suspected in a string of burglaries in both L.A. and Orange counties.
White privilege? Remember, things are not always as they seem. See you tomorrow.